岁月、环境、规则 ，LPL 在不断改变。6年中，有许多人问我，你为什么还在坚持？这局游戏对你究竟意味着什么？
全军出击！
我见过最美的风景，也听过最热烈的欢呼。为了所有这些，我愿意付出一切。
这局游戏是一段旅途，有人中途停留，也有人会做到最后，而终点只不过是另一个起点。
50的血量，50的血量！
我不懂那么多是非曲折，这局游戏赢就对了。
이번 게임의 낭만은 0부터 100처럼 무명에서부터 이름을 날리는 것이다.
我从来都没有后悔过自己走过的路。 这局游戏的魅力就在于创造奇迹。
많은 사람들이 전설을 보는 것에 열광하지만 다른 사람들이 그 뒤에서 흘리는 땀에 대해서는 잘 보지 못합니다. 하지만 이러한 땀이 없었다면 저희는 다시 이곳으로 돌아오지 못했을 겁니다.
欢迎来到英雄联盟。
会变的是人和环境，不变的是游戏最后的胜利画面。
我明白，这场游戏就是成王败寇。
但是不到最后，我不会放弃对王冠的追逐。
这局游戏需要牺牲，无私奉献，去成就团队的胜利。
他还需要领袖，不管遇到什么困难，都和同伴一起扛下去。
是我最喜欢的玩具。
LPL 需要年轻的力量，是时候让我们来接管比赛了。
想成为这场游戏的主角吗？打败我吧！我们的时代还远没有结束。
Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Shanghai, where we are broadcasting to you guys live the LPL from the Shanghai Super Brand Mall Arena, Shanghai LPL Super Brand Mall Arena, I should say. On the desk with me today is going to be none other than Brent Rez Muhammad, as well as Indiana Frosker and Black. As you guys see, the players backstage getting ready for tonight's games, and we have 3 games to bring to you live, 2 of which will be played from the arena here today, as well as one to be played from Snake's home arena in Chongqing. Guys, how are you doing today?
Doing well, doing well. I got my representative Frosker in here.
Your representative, you're representing her, aren't you?
The thing is every time you introduce us, I just make eye contact with Raz, and I'm not going to say anything. I know he's going to do it for us. And he turns, he's like, we're great.
Every time.
As always, Raz is going to be, talking on Froskeren's behalf, apparently, or whoever he has on the desk with him. So you might want to start charging for this, Raz. It's getting a little bit too much
Yeah,
here.
what's your day rate?
I have no idea what my rates are.
Well, enough of that. Let's get straight into what we have today. Before we get into today's matches, let's recap the matches that we had yesterday, as well as the standings that we have so far in week 1 of the LPL. We're down to day number 6, the 6th and final game. And guys, has there anything that been surprising so far? What are your thoughts on the standings so far?
I mean, we've already finished up the East Conference yesterday, so you can see that RNG are sitting happy and pretty on top at 2-0, but strength of schedule really screwed over Invictus Gaming. You can see that there's a red line that goes across your screen and all those names are dark. It's because only the top 4 teams of both West and East will make it into the playoffs. So all those dark gray teams, not qualified so far, but it's only week 1.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, TOP and LGD realizing what their current strengths and weaknesses are and already preparing for week 2.
Just want to see how those games pan out. TOP unfortunately still 0-3 bottom of the table, but the teams that we expect to be top of the table are still right there. We have 3 more matches to round out the first week of the LPL, and we're going to take a look exactly what those matches are going to be. Up first is going to be Biibili Gaming taking on Team WE, followed by Fun Plus Phoenix going up against OMG, and last but not least, Snake will be taking on EDG at their stadium in Chongqing. Those are the matches right there, and they're going to be great matches nonetheless.
Yeah, great doesn't even begin to cover. We have some bangers today, like FPX. We don't really know what the strength of this team is right now, and it is a race for probably 3rd place in the group right now. EDG and Team WE sitting fat and pretty there. So FPX and OMG, this is head-to-head. Who is going to take that 3rd place spot?
Exactly. I mean, FPX, the biggest point about them is their early game. It's looking really strong. Of course, later on, there's some lessons to be taught in terms of finishing out their games. But it's looked good. I mean, they came out of a victory against a Snake in their Chongqing Arena. Now they're making it back to Shanghai to play these games, and it looks like it could be a victory for them going up against a slumping OMG.
Well, the first match that we have today is going to be Biibili Gaming taking on Team WE. Now, Biibili Gaming used to be a team known as IMEI, and IMEI had a historical match against Team WE, which started a rivalry between the two teams. Let's take a look at how that started.
They would have no one to blame but themselves if they lose this game here. They were in control for 99% of it. And if they stall this game out so long that it comes down to a single coin flip team fight and they lose.
They're going in. Here comes Donos. He's on top of Mystic. There goes Shen Xiao. He's trying to get it back. He's still alive. Sia's gone. They're trying to chase on through. Let's see if they can do it because IMEI are chasing through TWE. 10 seconds on Sia. 10 on 0. Can IMEI do it? They're going for the end. They're on the Nexus turret. The first Nexus turret is going to fall. They got the second one. IMEI, they have done it. IMEI are going to be the third team from China representing the LPL at the World Championships.
That's the comeback.
Oh my god.
There's nothing more satisfying than a comeback in a Game 5 series.
Oh, amazing, Jay.
I may have genuinely done the impossible here.
Not only the match that sent IMEI to Worlds that year, but also the match that started this rivalry between IMEI and Team WE, now known as Biibili Gaming IMEI are. But Frostgreen, you were there. Amazing Jay was crying. You were tearing up a little bit. Rusty and I were going crazy. What exactly was going on there?
That was the 2016 ship to Worlds for IMEI. That's when they got to make their big breakout on the international stage. Unfortunately, didn't go in 2017. Team WE finally staked their claim and took everyone down, including Invictus Gaming. But that's where it really started. You know, IMEI's ability to make a comeback like that. There will never be probably another emotionally charged moment to that caliber. Like, that was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see that live, and I still get choked up watching it.
I mean, you mentioned it. That's where it all really started between them and WE, and it's also when it started that they started to carve an identity as miracle makers for themselves. Because even in the later portions, like the year afterwards, they tried for many times. Sometimes those victories didn't come out when they tried to go for those miracle moments during the regular season. But it seems like they always have an eye for those later on in the games.
I mean, it's the idea of belief. Amazing Jay said it himself. When they came in from the LSPL back into the LPL, so from Challenger to Worlds in a single split, he said, I will take us to Worlds. Everyone laughed at him. Everyone thought he was crazy. And in that moment, he got to stand on an international stage and say, I told you so.
Well, as much as this is now a grudge match between the two teams, it's important to note that since that game, IMEI have not been able to take down Team WE. Now rebranding into Biibili Gaming. What's going to go on here? Or Biibili Gaming pick up the organization, I say. What's going to happen here today? Because Biibili Gaming have looked good to kickstart the LPL.
Yes, they have. Going up against Vici and honestly just taking them down incredibly easily. And it was off the back of Amazing Jay, much like when we looked at that last moment, it was off the back of Amazing Jay's TP. It's the TP presence from Biibili that really make them a threat against WE today.
And it also makes them an interesting matchup for WE. We talk about how Team WE are about the sum of their parts. Well, Biibili Gaming are also about the sum of their parts. It's about the 5v5, not the lane phase. So this upcoming series should be a lot of late game, big, heavy brawls, and about who is going to get those deep TPs.
And it's still very similar core lineups for both teams. Team WE fielding 957, Melon, Sia, Mystic, and Ben. The only one that most people back home will not recognize is Melon, who is stepping in for Condi.
Yeah, still very green on the stage, but if it's any indication of what happened versus OMG, Xie should be able to pick up after.
And it was that big Zoe performance from Xie, but Xie got to prove himself. Is it Condi or is it him? And he said, it's me.
And normally, over time, grudge matches tend to fade as players move away, but both these teams still have very similar core rosters. Amazing J, SKS, Athena, Jinjiao, and Road.
SKS is probably the newest addition to this roster. He was sharing a spot with Flawless last split, but he became the primary starter as Flawless moved to Rogue Warriors.
This is what I love about Biibili. It's just the fact that there is just the consistency now that they've been comfortable with SKS.
Well, we'll have to see how this game pans out. Biibili Gaming taking on Team WE in the first match of the day. Let's send it over to both Rusty and Pulse.
Cheers, Fish. Welcome to the Caster Decks. My name is Pauls. I've got Rusty alongside me. Very excited for the late game team fights that are inevitably going to happen in this matchup. What are you excited for, Rusty?
Pretty much the exact same thing, and the reason that is exciting to want is because every time these two teams face each other and we get to those late game scenarios, it's chaos, it's great, everything you could want and more in a League of Legends game. But for me, that is great. That's what I want to see. But you need to talk about how we get there when we look at rosters like this. They're known for getting to late game and fighting against each other. But who has an early game? Who's going to be able to do the extra work to get the lead before the fights happen?
Is it WE?
The other side does the miracle. Oh, well, your spoilers. There we go. Straight up. WE, yes.
It is. And WE, they have that extra bite in the early game. It's worth mentioning they still have Melon in the jungle position. So a lot of those early game leads typically come from the jungle role, and specifically Condi. So that might have a little less bite to them in the early game against Biibili. So there is a chance here that could upset the title battle.
Yeah, certainly possible when you dissect how these junglers interact. However, Melon looked like an aggressive player, was at least trying to make dives and make these proactive movements. SKS, he's known more as a tracking jungler. He is the embodiment of Rek'Sai as a player because he just wants to find the other person and hunt them down.
Yeah, he's got his 8-time scope. He's looking around the map, and he will find you at some point. And I think he's got a player who he can definitely exploit on the opposite side, being Melon. He was getting caught out a couple of times, overextending when he didn't need to. But we are into Champion Select, Team WE and Biibili Gaming, with Alistair, Camille, very standard bans to start us off. On the opposite side, Ezreal actually getting bans out, and we haven't seen too many Ezreal bans, but a lot of Ezreal picks. So I'm glad we start to get some teams actually banning it away.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to remove the Ezreal. Mystic is a super good Ezreal player as well, so individually taking it away from the members of WE is a good call here overall. The Zoe ban, you have to ban that from Xie. He's also got a mean Kassadin, but Kassadin very rarely hits the ban list. It's more of a, you have to be very precautionary with what you're picking into the middle lane to prevent the Kassadin from existing or being an option for Xie to pick it. And the good thing here for Biibili Gaming in this game, number one, is they're on the red side, so if they want to, they can prioritize Athena as the last pick.
Yeah, it's usually very much a reaction in that mid lane, but we did have Malzahar ban on top of that from WE and a Kalista ban from Biibili Gaming, so lots of respect towards the bottom side of the map, including the Zoe.
Now, one of the champions that is up and available, not just the Kog'Maw for some reason, is the Azir. The Ornn is also going to be there if you want to pick a tank in the top lane. There are a few mid laners around, and the supports. Tahm Kench, one of the higher priority at the moment, and Road is a very good Tahm Kench player. However, he's also a very good Bard player, which does exceptionally well into Tahm Kench.
Well, I know you always want to see some Bard, but we've also got the Braum as well, just in case. So there's still plenty of options for the support pool. Top lane, 957 has just picked up the Kog'Maw, though, for Mystic, as he said, has been left open. Typically banned for most of these games, so Mystic will get his hands on that one.
Yeah, he's going to lock that one in on Bilibili's side. They've gone for the Braum and the Vladimir, another strong mid lane / top lane champion, one of the few that can flex between both of those lanes. Ryze is often seen as the response, and not necessarily a counter, but more of a preventative measure towards him being played into the middle lane. So she a very good Ryze player. I'd expect that that'll at least be considered for them in this first game. I like the option of the Braum, however, on the opposite side. Something that can prevent Kog'Maw's damage, something that can also help take down the Kog'Maw to boot.
Sure, I wouldn't be surprised if we see WE actually lock in a Tahm Kench early here before Biibili Gaming inevitably take it away. But Sejuani will go over to Melon as well into the jungle. So again, taking these more supportive, tanky junglers for his team and just letting, well, the established team do the heavy lifting.
Yeah, as the Sejuani, Melon is going to be able to play the tanks. You're right, let the rest of the team do the carrying, let them do the heavy lifting. And it's not just that he's going to let them do that, it's that he's going to empower them to do that further once again with the Sejuani being up and available. Just a strong champion in her own right.
Yeah, so Na was the lock-in for 957 as well towards the top lane, and Biibili Gaming are now awaiting their third pick. So didn't actually pick up a support in the first rotation here from WE, so no doubt we're going to see some bans from Biibili Gaming now, as Twitch was the pickup for Jin Zhao.
I guess the question is, with Alistar gone, that Janna ban is curious, but it's mostly because there is a Kog'Maw there. Do they get rid of the Tahm Kench with it? That was the other option, and Shen is one of those champions that in the support role is so good against Twitch. If you're able to get the W down and actually prevent all of the damage when he does the spray and pray, I feel like it's now a conflicting choice with the Janna as their first option here from Biibili. Where do they actually go? Is it a Lulu now? Do they just commit hard into preventing it from being a support?
I mean, at this point, you're going to get a tank support either way if they decide to ban that Lulu. But what we know for certain is the Gangplank has been banned out against Amazing J. I will now note that, Camille is also banned. So yeah, very much hitting the Amazing J's champion pool. And there's a Taric ban, so they actually went a different direction, taking that one away.
an Ardent sensor tank, so for what it's worth having the Cogmore there, they have been conscientious of what WE wants to do and they're trying to prevent it from happening. But let's come back to the Gangplank ban as well. We have yet to see Amazing J play it in the LPL. It has only been banned against him. He hovered it as the first pick, and I feel like that's just an omen to the other team saying, you know I'm not allowed to have this, and I know I'm not allowed to first pick it, but we all know it's there.
Just a reminder, because it gets the last pick, because we are on red side, I'm probably going to pick it. You're already locked in, Nara, as well. So that is a Zac actually lock-in for SKS into the jungle, so we'll see if he actually gets into those lanes early.
So I think for the rest of the composition of Team WE, you still want to see the Shen in the support role. I'd prefer it to the Tahm Kench. However, when you're against the Zac and a Vladimir, Tahm Kench still does work its magic very well. The Azir being locked in by Xie, something that has a bit of mid-range on it, and a character that does do quite well into the likes of the Zac. It makes it very risky to jump in if it's level 6 for the mid laner of Xie and not level 6 for the jungler of SKS, which there is a point in the game where that would happen. It can be a game changer with the ultimate, that's all.
Xie actually leaned away from the Rise in the end and went towards the Azir. Still very high priority pick right now, so he'll bring that into the mid lane against what is presumably going to be the Vladimir. Could be a flex into the top lane for Amazing J and a new lane picked up into the mid lane.
Nara is a good matchup into the Vladimir, so it makes it a bit more conflicting as to if you want to see Amazing J on that. But with all the top lane bans that have cropped up, the Camille, the Gangplank both gone, there's a chance that he goes towards some other carries, like Rumble exists, but it's okay into Nara. You could play a Relia if you're feeling real cheesy Amazing J, just because it's a winning matchup. I have the expectations that it's Vlad going top lane, though, because of all of those bans.
Well, with the Xerath lock-in, then I'm going to say yes, it is indeed the Vladimir top. And, you know, I was walking in today with Raz, and we were taking the train, and he was like, listening through different mid laners, and then he said Xerath accidentally. He was like, ha, no one will pick Xerath unless they're trolling.
Did he say that?
Yeah, unless they're trolling. So do you think this is a troll pick from Athena, Rusty?
I have a feeling that I'm going to have conflicting opinions to Raz about this champion. I think Xerath is very good. He does a lot of damage. The runes have helped him a lot. He outranges the Xerath, and that's the real reason that you'd pick it. You've gone for a mid-range poke-style champion in Azir, and Xerath's just that little bit further away, and it makes the trading really difficult for, in this case, Xie in the middle lane.
We'll see how it works out towards the end of the game as well, because as we already mentioned, these two teams are very much going to look towards those team fights as we get past the mid game, and the early game may be somewhat slighted towards WE, but that is a bit of a question mark since they do have Melon still in the roster.
That was worth it, by the way, calling out Raz for the look on his face as you did it, and I'm ready for the angry tweet to come, so...
Oh, you know it's coming. That's the best thing about being up here in the crowd in the studios. I can also look across and see the analyst's desk.
So coming into this first game, we've got the finished team compositions. We know exactly what they want to be doing with each. Team WE first picked a Cogmore. I feel like in and of itself, that starts to speak towards the style they're going to be playing. The Azir is a good mid-range champion, stand about the same distance as the Cogmore, but is in a similar way to Cassiopeia very good at protecting the AD carry. So the finished team composition there is a bunch of tanks, a bunch of protection, a whole lot of scaling, and then Nah that can do it all. So if he wants the split push, he can build that route. If he wants the team fight, he can do the exact same thing. I'd call their composition very diverse and able to do what they'd please, but they're up against a bit more of a wild card from the Biibili Gaming's draft overall. The Vladimir and Xerath, very strong magic damage combo, even empowering Zax with the Hemo Plague when that does come down. But the Twitch and the Braum, as a duo, is a super good scaling duo 2v2 in the bottom lane. But then when you look at a team fight, it doesn't really feel like it's jointed. It's just a whole lot of damage, and if it doesn't kill someone, they lose.
I mean, what I'm getting from you is a whole lot of scaling and a whole lot of team fight prowess, which is
Shocking.
no surprise
Yeah.
what we expected in this matchup. Someone missed the memo on the final chant, but they are there. The crowd is very much packed for this game, WE and Biibili Gaming. I looked out earlier and I was just like, hang on, is that only a half crowd? But then everyone flooded in as soon as the game started.
It is a common thing in the LPL with the fans. They don't necessarily show up for the opening ceremonies. That is an amazing, amazing J poster, by the way. They more so show up for when the game's starting.
Yeah.
They like to see the players' faces, and they're not going to come here early. They're just going to show up when they arrive. So the stages always look empty. And then suddenly it's just full and everyone's yelling.
Everyone's here, yeah. And it's we are starting, of course, a little bit earlier today because we have more games coming your way. We'll be trying to show you everything that we have today, 3 full sets. But let's get into this one, WE and Biibili Gaming. Melon's going to be starting on the top side, actually. So 957 will be forced to come down and help him. Actually, same from the opposite side.
Yeah, SKS is able to start on the red side because there is a smite for Amazing J running the unsealed spellbook on the Vladimir. One of the cool things about that is that Vlad can start tanking the buff and then he can smite to get the rest of the health back. So it doesn't hurt top lane. The clear time for the junglers and when the Vlad gets the lane is still very good. So he's able to do that only because there's an unsealed spellbook there in the top lane.
He's actually gone for a Rejuve bead in this lane as well. He's gone Boots, the part, and the Rejuve bead. Now, that's a very interesting adaptation because typically you'll see like a Doran shield into a winning matchup like now.
Yeah, that is a super curious choice to see from him. In terms of itemization, it's not ideal because it's not going to be straight towards the ability power route. So I'd say it's I'm just going to call it awkward. I feel like it'll work okay in the end. We have seen Rejuve beads in the top lane from a lot of Shens when they just spam potions with it. He just doesn't want to lose in lane. Aerie has a lot of poke. Nah with Aerie has a lot of poke. And it's a weaker way of sustaining, but a more cost-efficient way of sustaining.
Sure, it's almost just like a different way of getting a refillable potion up there. It's just like picking up that, because refillable potion is not going to turn into anything good for Vladimir, so Rejuve be pretty much just the same thing. So we'll see how that one works out for him, because he's not going to get the reduced auto-attack damage when 957 inevitably keeps waiting on him because he's Nara into Vladimir.
Yeah, and it's not a great matchup to be a Vlad in, especially super early on, and if you have Smite, but you can go back to base and you can swap that for Teleport.
Yep.
I am curious to know how the Smite interaction works. I know if the spell is available and you switch to Teleport, then it should instantly be available. But because you have 2 charges of Smite, how does the cooldown change when you only have 1 stack up?
That's usually a question I'd ask you, Mr. Rusty,
I
but
know.
I'm not entirely sure.
If I'm asking, then we're in trouble.
Oh no. In the mid lane, Shea, that was a lot of damage. Athena's getting very much the better of Shea in terms of the health pool. Shea's just been focusing on farm. And Athena hasn't even burnt through his second potion there.
No, not at all. Of course, that outranging poke, something that we mentioned in the draft phase. Athena with the heal and the flash, only going for Comet as well, both respectively having Comet. Xerath has a harder time actually getting the Comet to work, unless it's timed with the W, which does apply a small slow, which means the Comet will hit, whereas Azir can hit the Q and can slow them down, and we'll proc that one. As the lanes go, though, with that extra range, Azir should get forced back once or twice early and then start to equalize simply because he has more kill threat, more pressure as he's fighting in a 1v1.
I'm just thinking more about this Rejuve and what it builds into, because it doesn't build into Spectre's Kite. It does build into Adaptive Helm.
Yes,
worth
but
mentioning.
My suspicion is that he's just going to sell it at some stage when it becomes an inefficient item slot. If I had to choose between having the Rejuve bead or 2 control wards, I'd probably go for the control wards at a certain point in the game.
I'm just wondering if he's going to go towards the Adaptive Helm because of the Cogmore damage and the Azir coming through, but again, that's a question down the line. It's not like it's a super expensive item to sell anyways.
It builds into Targon's Brace, which is the top lane support item that everyone's getting if you have an overheal AD carry. And Jin Zhao is there on the Twitch, so crazy possibility. Maybe that's what he does.
There's like 3 options we just mentioned, so let's see what he does in a round. I'll probably say on his next back. So far he hasn't gone back to base yet. Melon's going to spot SKS. In fact, SKS is going to wander up to the first Hello. It's going to take a bunch of damage here from Melon. Of course, Sejuani is pretty much the queen of contesting the
He's going to have to flash.
On the top side. This is a lot of damage. Yeah, that will be the flash coming through. Melon's going to flash after him with the red buff. One more auto attack, and it might actually put him down into his passive. Athena's there in time. And I can't believe that Melon just shoved SKS out of the jungle as Sejuani.
I mean, SKS did waddle up to a bush that Sejuani was in, didn't even look in the bush and just suddenly found a boar there and had to walk away. Very late flash from the Zac as well. I feel like he could have used it earlier to be more precautionary and prevent more red buff auto attacks from coming, but they end up trading flashes in the end, and that's kind of the best case scenario for what was a very awkward spot for the Zac, all things considered.
It's not a good scenario because now that he didn't actually go back to base, he went towards his wolf camp first, now he's going back to base. It just give Melon another breathing room around specifically the top side, and 957, with there's already a good lane, and now Amazing J sat up there, it's like, well great, my jungle just got pushed out, now I have to sit underneath my tower.
Yeah, less control through the lanes that are now losing through the jungle as well, just by having to go back to base. You're absolutely correct. And through that, I don't feel like a whole lot has changed besides the middle lane, though. Na's always going to push into the Vladimir. It just means that there's no threat for SKS to gank, and that just empowers the Na further, 957, to be even more aggressive, hyper-aggressive, poke under the turret if you can afford to take that. And if you want to beat a Vladimir in lane, you actually have to do that.
We've got that trail of wards as well on the battle path that Melon just forged into SKS's jungle.
He was weaving.
He definitely was. Mid lane, it's now evening up in farm, even though Shea was starting to get pushed out early. Ben is just trying to give bot lane a bit of a poke, and SKS is back into the bottom side, so he's not going to make the same mistakes he did last time. He'll also take away his control ward. That was Mystic doing. Mystic is actually significantly ahead of Xin Zhao, even with this minion wave crashing shortly.
I think a lot of that comes down to the Tahm Kench's added pressure in lane. If Braum doesn't hit Qs, then it's never going to be matched. And Kog'Maw against Twitch, just by having the W up every time that's off cooldown, you feel like Kog has that slight advantage in damage output because you can dodge the range appropriately and never give them the 5-stack expunge for the Twitch. Mystic's also just an exceptionally good player. There's a chance that he's winning lane because he's Mystic.
Also true. Also a good possibility. I mean, Kog'Maw has been consistently banned in the LPL up until this point, so the fact he's managed to get his hands on it, it was a first pick as well.
Yeah, I can only remember one other Kog'Maw so far in this split of the LPL, and that was on LWX, so unsurprisingly, he picks it up, but surprisingly, it wasn't banned from him as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we should start to get, or see that banned against particularly those players. Players are very good on those hyper carries. In fact, we will see LWX later today as well, so let's see if that is indeed the case. Shea, has he gone for his first back yet? He has, but very early, because he picked up the Dark Seal.
Yeah, I wouldn't really call that the first back. It was more when he was forced out of the lane by Athena very early on in the game, yeah. So he just picks up the only item that he realistically could. Hasn't gone towards any major purchases yet. Once he gets the attack speed, that's when the lane starts to shift around. I also just think a jungler intervention in the middle lane means the most, and Melon 6.
Now he's looking for this gang to the mid lane. Great reaction flash from Athena. Immediately seeing Shea change up his play pattern. Why is this guy doing this? We'll back away. Even it looked like he popped the heal on that one as well. It was just
both
smash all of my panic buttons.
I used them both straight away. I am surprised that the Sejuani ult still didn't stun him. It felt like it was just a hair away from still connecting. So Athena gets to walk away. Pretty worse for wear though. Shea gets a free recall if he would like after that trade, but he's choosing to hang around at the moment. Athena, level 7 Azereth, just pushes him in constantly. It's not the life that you want to be as Azir.
And gradually, the top lane, now that the first back's happened, we've got the Seeker's Arm Guard, so Amazing J is going to be able to farm just fine now against 957. Who has in turn also gone for his own respective Spectre's Cowl. And I think you were right, it looks like the Rejuve bead has just been sold.
I kind of wanted the Targon's Brace, but it makes more sense to get a Spell Thieves. I'm still not sure why he had it in the first place, to be honest. That could have been potions. If
Extra potions, yeah.
Could have been so many potions. He chooses not to, though. Doesn't really matter too much in the end.
No, I mean, it's like, what, 150 gold, and you sell it and you lose like 2 minions worth of gold, so.
Yeah, nothing super substantial. He is behind 10 CS though, so you could pretend that was 12 and feel like you're winning by just a little bit more. 957 is ahead in CS, as is the bottom lane for Team WE. And through that, that's the biggest concern that Biibili Gaming have right now. They're just slowly losing. SKS doesn't have an impact on Summoner's Rift. Melon is walking him around. That was to clear the wave, apparently. He scooped it, whooped it.
He absolutely did. But yeah, it's pretty much as you were saying as well, like, we are expecting, you know, SKS to be up around the jungle, you know, finding the enemy jungle, but he was actually found by Melon, so it means that every single role is now kind of getting pushed back, kind of losing. And while it's not as explosive as maybe you would expect from like Condi, going from lane to lane, sometimes getting those ganks and being successful, they're still winning.
Yeah,
and that's just WE.
It doesn't matter if the lanes are winning, and that's where the scary part does come about for SKS. If you're behind in the jungle, or you're being pushed out in the jungle, there's a level difference at the moment, and you go to make that play, if Melon's there, then it's even harder. Like, the 2v2 then becomes significantly harder to execute. You don't have the most crowd control through any lane other than bottom as well. So what I would want to see from BLG is currently use the teleport advantage they have on the top side of the map. Bring that bottom. Kill the Kog'Maw and the Tahm Kench. You've got a Braum to help engage down there. Xerath can just ult from the middle of river too. Like, they can make a play.
And plus you've got that Infernal Dragon up, so both teams are going to want to go towards it. And without Biibili doing anything at this point in time, then inevitably it's going to slowly go to WE as they get the vision over the area, which they already have. They've consistently managed to maintain control of the area, so Biibili need to do something to open up, but it just kind of sucks because top lanes are losing lane, mid lane's now getting pushed in, bot lane's doing well. She is actually on top of Athena as we speak. In comes Melon, flash forwards, lands the ultimate, but counter going from SKS is not going to help. In fact, he might also go down for this one as well. Uses the ultimate, let's bounce. Tahm Kench interrupted from the bottom lane. SKS getting dove, probably just going to try and take as a passive away here, but barely escapes with it. On top of him, regardless.
Cute stuff from Melon to help tank at the end there as well. Shea picks up the first kill for the team of WE. Biibili Gaming, look, I understand that Athena was caught out of position. Shea with it exceptionally engaged. SKS chooses to go in and just ends up in a puddle in between both of them like, oh, I made a big mistake. And just kind of has to run away with the ultimate. Barely lives. Is lucky that he doesn't get put into the passive. And from doing nothing really, WE, besides winning lane and finding one chance to pick up the no summoner spell Athena, they get that, they get the Drake, and they start to grow a lead.
And it goes right into the Infernal Dragon, as you mentioned. I actually wonder what happened to Ben there, because he did get interrupted in the Abyssal Voyage. Perhaps it was just an auto attack or something from Jin Jiao, because that definitely would have at least sealed the passive from SKS. But regardless of that, it's the first dragon, first blood to WE. They get the control in the mid lane. Someone is now just coming up from Athena, but still no flash in the mid lane. And the second dragon's going to be Infernal, so it puts even more onus on Biibili. You have to do something in the next 6 minutes to try and at least even up, if not make a play, or at least get control of the bottom side.
Yeah, the moment they have to make the play is when the second Infernal is available, maybe 20 seconds before it, so you can prevent Team WE from even considering that as one of their options. You don't want to start that snowball on a team that has incredible scaling with 2 Infernals, and to have the first one at 11 minutes in the game, with leads in laning phase, getting towards item spikes. That Cogmore not too far away from getting his first item. Starting to look dire, and that feels weird to say at 12 minutes.
It is, but it's
With
a lot
one
of
kill.
small factors, right? You know, that like adds up to a big problem. Man's going to see SKS walking in, and he spent a lot of time bot side. I don't think he's even looked at top side.
I have a feeling he hasn't been up there at all. Sejuani and Zach may be just tracking each other when they go to the top side. Is
Oh,
that
you stop
really just
recalling.
All right. Yep. They stopped him.
They did.
It's going to push a wave, and he's going to miss about 6 CS, but SKS isn't even choosing to hit the turret.
No, he's...
In fact, Sejuani's just going to catch the wave.
Interesting. Well, okay, here we go. SKS is looking towards top side now, but there is a ward in the bush. He's going to see him not... wow, he's actually out of vision. Oh, he didn't go towards top side. Okay.
He just bamboozled you, man.
Gotcha. I think it's worth at least giving it a shot. I mean, Amazing J is at the point where he's not getting poked out. He's just collecting the wave now. Maybe give him some pressure.
You know what I think they're waiting for?
What's
is
that?
Not just the first item for a Twitch, he's delayed himself by going pickaxe with Zeal. I think it's just Azonia's for the Vlad. Once they've got that, they've got to... Actually, no, you know what? He's got a stopwatch. I take everything back. You could dive bottom.
Just get in there.
Just do it.
But he's not. He's farming. Second buff or third buffs are now spawning, so I reckon it's just going to be another 90 seconds.
They have a control ward where a Zach would be, but Zach's doing his red buff.
No, I agree with you. There's like, I'm not completely on your side, Rusty. I'd like to see it, but SKS, it seems like he just got spooked by the fact he got walloped by Sojourner early. He was like, you know what, I'm just going to farm my jungle, I'm going to play it safe. I'm going to reaction gank sometimes.
Now Athena has summoners.
Okay, well, Ultimate just straight up whiffed there. He was expecting the juke.
Yeah, and Zach's nearby, but he doesn't really find the targets.
No, and get out of here. That's pretty much it. Shea shoves him away, and that's the end of that.
Skill shot lanes, man. I love me some skill shot lanes. The Sejuani, I believe he was just making an attempt to get a flash out of Athena, though, by going for that. Maybe scare him into using the flash. You know what happened last time, right? He did die from it. So Athena, I think that's somewhere where you have to actually credit the mid laner of Biibili for not using a summoner spell and just dodging it.
Fair. This is going to hurt Ben a lot, though. Or not, because they just decide to back away there as Mystic is raining down supporting fire, covering fire for Ben on his way out.
The CS difference is actually going to 40 down in the bottom lane as well through that 2v2.
Yeah.
If a Twitch is ulting a minion wave to clear it, to keep a turret alive, that says a lot about it, the state of the game. Amazing J can't teleport. He's actually just been pressured constantly by 957. If he was to teleport, he'd probably lose the top lane turret now as well. So they can't make a play down there. Zach, he's reactively making plays everywhere that he wants, but it's never going to be successful because it's reactive in the first place, and he's trying to compete with a Sejuani that has a lead through the early game, and here comes a rotation from Shie.
Ooh, yeah, you're going to have to cancel that teleport, Amazing J, and that's going to put it on a long, long cooldown. He's actually swapped up to that one from the Unsealed Spellbook, and first tower of the game over to WE. Nice little rotation there from Shie. Maybe not even needed in the end, but it did stop the teleport from Amazing J himself, who actually changes his summon now to Ghost.
He's gone towards the team fighting summoner spell. It usually means Amazing J online, Vladimir online. Not sure how he's going to execute these team fights, and we will have to wait to see where they're looking towards for a team fight. There is 1 minute and 40 seconds till the Infernal Drake Pulse, and you have to expect, once again, that's where they're going to look. You cannot give 16% AP and AD over to a team fighting composition that WE has got for themselves.
You know, Russ, it feels like there was many a window that we spotted. And yes, it's easy for us to say because we're sat here with the whole vision of the map, but Biibili Gaming could have made those plays. Bot lane even went Gwyntu's first Cogmore, and he's still 30-40 farm ahead of his counterpart. So it's like, there must have been somewhere in there you would have been able to do something.
What concerns me is that we're hitting the mid to late game team fighting type of stage with items that are coming across, and Mystic still hasn't needed to use the stopwatch at all. So a snowballing team with the stopwatch is available. Granted, pretty much everybody on Summoner's Rift has a stopwatch ready to go on Biibili's side as well. Whatever this fight is, it's going to be super chaotic, and you have to hope that everyone's kept the internal counter. They've pressed tab, and they've been like, okay, there are stopwatches here. Let's try and actually recognize and remember that.
I'm just very much concerned that WE have essentially just played League of Legends. They haven't done anything special. You've got a couple ganks in mid lane because it was exploitable, but they have a 4,000 gold lead at 17 minutes.
They're wearing the ankle weights, you know? They're doing kung fu in the ankle weights. They don't need to take them off yet.
Here comes Melon. Again, lands the ultimate on top of Road. It's going to block a lot of the damage with Unbreakable. But they will continue pushing the bot lane now with Melon in the top side. They have complete control of this bottom side. There's like a ward in River from Biibili Gaming.
SKS stopped his recall to do the Gromp as well, so he's going to delay himself by a little bit further. Can't really contribute and help the rest of the map that is slowly being pressured more and more. Melon has been active. They haven't got anything from it. He hasn't forced summoner spells twice in a row by using the Sejuani ultimate. But look at how far back and pressured BLG are relative to Team WE. This Infernal Drake, it feels like a stretch for them to even get to the area, let alone in time.
Just feels so airtight, the play right now that we're seeing from WE. Damage onto Amazing J. He's probably going to keep chasing until he runs out of rage.
If he hits
and
Mini,
chase
then
him
he's
down
keep
as
going.
Mini. Yeah, exactly. But it's going to take a little bit too long, so 957 just decides to back away. But he pushes in the wave. And the fact that he's able to push up to the second tower with no threat of there possibly being a jungler.
And not a single ward besides the one at the Raptors.
This guy's playing like me, except he has a brain. And that just is great. I mean,
hey, you said it.
Push
no comment.
But he's able to do it, and now he's just backing away. Like SKS, he's probably in the bottom side. They knew he was there down there because of the wards, and at some point he's starting to track towards the top side. Now we've got a ping onto their Herald from WE because it's like, well, we've taken the outer turret, we've taken 2 Infernal Dragons. The third one, it's going to be another Infernal Dragon. Now we just take the Herald as well because it's also just warded by us.
The stars have aligned for Drakes, for Team WE. That much is for certain. Mystic super strong. You can see how much damage he's able to contribute even solo towards the Herald with just Sejuani able to help here and there and pop some eyes. Now they go topside. They've swapped lanes. Usually after you get a turret, you swap lane and get the next outer, but it's already dead from Gnar in the 1v1. Mid lane is the last one that you'd probably be looking towards. Very hard to take against Azereth, and that might be the one remaining strength, that last bastion of hope for BLGs. If they hold the mid lane outer, they have easy pivot points and rotations towards the Baron if that's ever considered.
Well, Amazing J's not in a great situation because there's nothing he can really do as a Vladimir, as there are 3 people here. Amazing J backing away, and he's got SKS behind him, but Melon's going to stun him up and maybe just escort Herald in. But that was still the inner tower and top side, and while strategically doesn't give them a much until maybe 3-4 minutes down the line when Baron becomes the thing, still a lot more gold in the pocket.
It does help empower some extra vision around the Baron just on that top side of the map. Again, it's a lot less safe for Amazing J to push forwards, and that does tend to mean that the vision in that specific area is more shallow. You can see one control ward there now, just below where the Vladimir is on the minimap. That's a very safe ward. That doesn't reveal anything. It just reveals if they're coming to kill me. But now we're at 20 minutes on the dot. Can they even move that vision forwards and prevent the Baron from going down now that WE have just shopped? They're coming back to assert their dominance.
But that's the problem, right? 2-3 minutes down the line, it becomes a problem because Baron is the thing. So SKS very much needs to do this, place down all these wards, which he has done. Looks like they've also taken the crab in the river.
That ward, that bush is very controlled.
It is super controlled, but now Jin Zhao has just gotten a bunch of money from it. So he's on top side, he's still farming away, needs to get up to combat ready status before we start hitting these team fights. But Mystic, 2 items already. He's got his red buff rolling. And this Cogmore's going to hit like an absolute truck as soon as we start seeing skirmishes and 5v5s.
Xerath has made it back in time as well to defend this tower, but you're right, Cogmore, if there's a team fight that breaks out, absolutely will be able to contribute a lot to it. That's if BLG want to take the team fight.
Yeah, I'm going to say the operating word that you just said was if. Because Biibili have not been opting into any fights whatsoever. But he moved towards the top side, and unfortunately he has been tagged. So there's the flash away there by Jin Zhao. I don't know why he would do that unless he's A, trying to get a kill, or B, thinks the team's a lot closer than they were, but neither of those things were a thing.
Amusingly, he just finished the Infinity Edge. If he had it for that fight, Xie may have died. He cancelled an auto attack as well, so just good moves from the Tahm Kench. taking it to the top side, getting the kill. This pressure from 957 is continuing.
It's still big. The fact that Nara is able to just shove Vladimir out here. He's about to go into mini form as well on top of this, but he doesn't continue to chase using Hyper.
Frozen Mallet is there, so the constant chase from the Nara is available to him as he pleases. 957 just continuing to pressure. And now with the Twitch dead, mid lane can be pressured, can be sieged. If it's slowly, it doesn't matter because they're still chipping away at it. And the second it's gone, there goes all of BLG's control of the map.
Now in WE, there's no reason for them really to leave unless it's for Baron, because they've got their portable battering ram in the form of Cogmore, who's actually just going to stay there, continue hitting the tower and farming. So surely the rest of the team could not be on the Baron objective, which is already down a half because they have Azir, who is essentially an AP hyper carry, able to shred this one down. SKS, he's on his way, but he doesn't have any vision, Rusty. Now he's seen it, but it's like, oh, way too late. In comes the ultimate from Athena, and that's the end of that.
SKS's reaction to seeing it done was to press E on the spot. He's like, oh, this could have been you if you told me earlier. WE get the... It was actually very funny. I would love a replay of just that. They get the Baron for Team WE, and they still threaten. Now Xerath can't actually deal with waves in the middle lane. The Baron-empowered melee minions will be too hard for him to kill. Not this wave, of course. They're due for a recall and a red buff for Mystic, but very soon it's going to happen.
Oh, Mystic, is he going to go for it? No, okay. I'll be honest, there's a lot of AD carriers who, if they saw a Raptor camp to spawn next to them, they would stop their recall and immediately go for it.
I know a lot of AD carries and pulses that would do exactly that.
Yeah, 100%. But he's not one of those. He's going to go back to base and get another recurve bow. This guy, I actually don't know how much attack speed he has, but it's a lot, that's for certain.
Going towards the third item, Blade of the Ruin King.
Maybe Wit's End.
Expected build path, yeah. Wit's End if he wants to go defensive against the Xerath and a Vladimir. Actually, now I've changed my mind. Wit's End.
No worries. As a play-by-play, I just give you a lot of options.
I
You can go to the buffet, Rusty,
just
and
so you know.
you can take whichever you want. It's all good. The 957, he's actually pushing up to this tower, and the fact he's able to walk up, get damage down onto the tower, and Amazing J has to go for the minion wave.
With just a Spectre's cow, in terms of magic
and a lot
resistance.
of health.
Yeah,
Well,
he's got the Merc Treads
as well.
I don't. You know what? That's not a whole lot of magic resistance. Xie.
Okay, he's been spotted by Jin Zhao, who pops his ultimate for that, which is very curious because it means he doesn't now have that for
Are
a
they
teamfight
going
if it
to do
opens up.
something?
I mean, that's the golden question, isn't it, Rusty? Because so far, Biibili Gaming, that is the biggest engage I've seen so far from SKS. But it's getting turned around because Menon lands a perfect ultimate onto him. He has to take a trip back to base. Road almost goes down to delivering artillery. And WE, let's continue the assault.
You know
Xie is
what?
just going in and then rolling over and dying.
Melon cancelled SKS's elastic slingshot by dashing into him. Sejuani, very good pick into Zac. I didn't expect it from that angle. Great awareness from the jungler of Team WE. And thus continues the push in our PvE experience.
The easiest tower, the easiest inhibitor tower I've ever seen go down. We just walked up to it, no one defended. Jin Zhao went to the rest of the team. No, he's actually taken the inhibitor before Athena and Road arrive. And it's like, hang on, we actually just need to stop them at some point. But then the mid lane's being pushed. In the bottom lane, Nas taking a tower. And Biibili Gaming, with all 5 members available, are just sitting in the base and doing nothing.
I feel like BLG have tied themselves in a knot by getting confused and disoriented, having no idea where they should be, when they should be there, or what they should do on Summoner's Rift. WE are just laning. They're playing standard, very good League of Legends, and they are just winning because of it, because they're playing against no one.
As a wise man once said, Rusty, just do it. And I feel like Biibili Gaming right now just need to take that mantra and get in there, because currently 2-0, 25 minutes, and they are 8 structures down. So at some point, you're going to have to do something.
Yeah, I posted on Twitter yesterday that the LPL has explosions and excitement, Pulse. I feel like I've let everyone down.
That's fine. We'll cut the VOD. So
It was a tweet.
Well, that's unlucky. But as long as they don't pair the VOD with the tweet, then I think you're gold. So just make sure that you tune in for the next game where both these teams will be fighting. We even lied at the start of this cast. We were saying as soon as we hit the mid game, as soon as we hit the late game, it's going to be explosive team fights. Look at the compositions. We built them up.
We didn't lie. They were disingenuous to us. We set up a draft. We were like, what can Biibili Gaming's composition do? Well, they've got a Xerath and a Vladimir, so it's oodles of damage if they want to throw it at people. They've got a Twitch, so the same thing applies. If they feel so inclined to utilize such things, you would call it pretty good late game scaling.
Oodles is a great word. I didn't even know that was something outside of the UK, but I'm glad to hear it. Here's a let's bounce, and who have we got? We've got Ben, so not the perfect catch, but a catch nonetheless. Jin Zhao didn't really want to hit him, now he will. Ben falls, first one of the fight. Rhodes taking a bunch of damage, and oh, amazing! Jay just gets obliterated at the front lines. Wasn't even able to use the Sanguine Pool. You get back there, SKS. He has to go back to base, and 957 is still keeping up the assault in mini form. Melon leading the charge, and Mystic sitting on top of Jin Zhao. You come out of that, Zhonya's, and I'll murder you. Then Fina has to flash back into his spawn pad, and this is the last-ditch offense that Biibili game can even muster at this stage. It is just a defense, 4-1, and most of the kills have just happened in the last 30 seconds. And this is just going to be it, Rusty. WE just go on to the Nexus. Melon's blocking them, and Mystic, he's like, I just want to fight more, to be honest. I've done all this farming, and let me hit you at least before we finish off the Nexus. WE take game 1.
That's pretty much as easy as you'd like from Team WE. Finally, we saw an opportunity from BLG to go in to try and make an engage and get some kind of play out. But they picked the moment where there was 3 Infernal Drakes for the Team WE roster, where the Cogmore had 3 items where they were good to go. And for a team that is currently 1-0 in the standings, BLG, they 2-0'd Vici. Doesn't feel like they've really shown up yet today. That wasn't really a game 1 for them at all.
Yeah, we'll call that one the practice game, I guess. And amazing Jay. Well, he's still jolly at least. He got double target bans in that game, and that was a whole lot of farming, pretty much. We just watched Farming Simulator for about 30 minutes, and WE won the game.
I'll be honest with you, there's not a lot to feel bad about if you're BLG, besides the obvious fact that they lost the game. For what it's worth, they just lost so hard that at about 6 minutes in, you're like, well, let's just play this one out and see how we go. Yeah, maybe WE mess up. They clearly didn't.
Well, hey, on the bright side, Athena dealt a lot of damage on this team, 14,000 damage. And do you want to reevaluate what you think about the Zeref? Because we didn't really see him fight very much, but...
I'm not going to reevaluate anything after a game like that, Pulse.
I'm just saying, because we're throwing out to Raspberry shortly, so I feel like you can just get your opinion in real quick.
Zeref is good. Raz is bad. Nah, Raz is good. I like Raz. Zeref's also good, though.
No, we'll just take the first quote. We're taking that one out of context. Put that one in the article.
He's staring me down.
Ship it.
It's actually scary.
Well, that was pretty much it. So, yeah, I don't know. I would just want to see more from Biibili game because I didn't really feel like we got a game 1 from that.
We did get a good game from Team WE, though. They played very stock standard, good decision-making across the board, and I feel like even draft to itemization, I feel like Team WE were pretty sound.
Yeah, he was just pretty solid. Well, that's it from us. We're going to send it over to the analyst desk and see what their take is on that game 1.
I would normally thank our casters here, but no one is allowed to insult my analysts on this desk except for me. Raz, you didn't get a chance to defend yourself. What's going on?
Oh, no. W did it for me. Honestly, WE just completely smashed the Xerath pick. Here is the thing about Xerath. Xerath, in theory, it's great. We see it at the beginning of every season. You know, like Azir controls the meta. Who does well into it? Oh, let's see.
Who outranges Azir?
Oh, yeah. Is it AD Varus? Let's see if we have that for us. Is it the Fizz that can... Oh, let's go for a Xerath pick. And then the Xerath gets smashed. And I remember seeing it in the NALCS like a year back when Bjergsen picked it, realized, because it's one of those experimental theory picks, you outrange it, you have the poke onto the pick.
The ability to roam better than him.
Exactly. The issue becomes when you realize that you're a very low mobility pick, and a lot of it comes down to the team needing to protect it early on. You need a good pushing bottom lane to be able to help it. You need a jungle matchup that can kind of protect it in the lane, because a lot of it comes down to how you're able to control the wave at the very least. Xerath finds it difficult because when you try and poke, a lot of your damage just incidentally pushes the wave inwards. Before the first death even happens, he was down 10 CS in lane. I felt like the Azir CA did incredibly well within the lane. He actually just picked up an Abyssal Mask, and the poke didn't mean too much at the end.
It's also just very hard to execute comparatively to someone like Azir, so Xie taking man of the match. Azir is a complicated champion, but it is much easier to press those buttons and to make the plays happen than someone like Xerath, because if you miss your stun, that's pretty much it. That's all you really got. In theory, again, the 5v5s, you can see it. Zac goes in for the long-range engagement. Xerath is able to follow up no matter what his positioning is, but if Zac never goes in, then you're probably not going to do a lot of damage as Azir.
And holistically, I thought that WE still... Yeah. Holistically, WE did incredibly well around CA and Melon. Melon was really in tune with what CA was looking for. A lot of the times we saw the engagements going in, he was always just kind of on top of Xerath's head, and Zac didn't really get a range on it, didn't get to see it coming, so it was a lot of 2v1s happening in the mid lane.
And that said, like, we agree that Xerath was an issue, but you still look at the draft phase. The fact that Team WE got Azir Kog'Maw, and Tahm Kench. And they picked up Azir and Tahm Kench in the last rotation. What the hell happened in Biilibili's draft phase? Their priority picks were Braum and Vladimir. I can understand the Vladimir. Athena does use it as a flex pick. Athena has a small champion pool that he's actually effective on, and Vlad happens to be one of them. But, like, there's no reason to take Braum there and then never show up bot lane. Usually when you take Braum, you're empowering someone like the jungle. You could have taken the Tahm Kench, especially when you see a priority pick of Kog'Maw.
Yeah, a lot of it for me came down to the early gambit of understanding what Game 1 would be about. It seems like Biibili decided that Game 1 was going to be baiting out the Azir pick because Azir is such a high priority.
Master plan,
yeah,
Sarah.
just like, all right, let's get the notebook out. And just like, the notebook was long. It really was just a bolded point of pick against Azir. Wait till the last pick. We're red side.
And Rise was open. Like, they had another option.
Yeah.
Well, besides the Xerath pick, it was also a very one-sided affair for Biibili Gaming. I mean, sorry, for Team WE against Biibili Gaming. And this has kind of been exactly what we've seen time and time again since that epic moment of IMA making it to Worlds.
I mean, it's IMA, now Biibili Gaming, never win lane. It doesn't matter if you give them winning lane matchups, if you give them priority picks, they just never win the lane phase. And then they often do draft themselves into losing lane matchups. It's why their jungler has been a constant rotating door. Flawless couldn't do anything because he wants to invade, he wants to track, he can't do it if all of his lanes are missing. And SKS, yes, I think his lane priority was kind of incorrect. You know, if you're going to have a Braum, go bottom, try to make it work for you, but it's a Tahm Kench. What real option do you have down there anyway? The Xerath's not going to work out for you, but there's no cohesion, and like Biibili just leave their junglers out to dry.
Yeah, ultimately for me, it feels like it was a good gambit into seeing what happens in Game 1. And the best thing about LPL to me is the fact that it's still a best of 3. Everywhere else, you always have to have that frame of reference. It's best of 1. What are we going to do? Play standard. This time around, it felt like they wanted to throw a wrench into WE's plan and picking up the Xerath because that was the only priority lane, so they should have done a little bit of a better job in supporting it. It didn't work out, so going into Game 2, 100%. I'll say 100% because I'm never wrong. Never am I a wrong human being. I'm not wrong. Don't try and disprove it. That they'll just go standard Game 2.
Feeling okay over there?
Standard in
Are you still a little bit upset about our casters?
I'm looking at Pulse.
I mean, yeah, so are we. They're still looking at us. They're still dancing as well over there. But that was game number 1 where Team WE were able to pick up the victory over Biibili Gaming. A very one-sided affair. We're going to go into a quick break. We'll be back with game 2 shortly.